Hi, I'm Dr. Daniel Boggs. I'm a chiropractor, acupuncturist, and functional nutrition practitioner here in the Charleston, West Virginia area in Cross Lanes. And on this video, I want to talk about our fibromyalgia relief secret number 2. And that is that your lab results do not necessarily tell the entire story. Now, one thing that I get asked pretty commonly is, why do I still have symptoms when my lab tests look normal? So I'm going to give you several reasons why that may be happening. Now, whenever you're sent to have lab work done, you go to a drawing station like Quest Lab or LabCorp or your doctor's office where your blood's drawn. Your blood's then sent to a lab where they analyze your blood and they give each marker a numerical result. So a marker would be like your cholesterol or your glucose or your TSH. Your result is then compared to a normal range of low to high. Okay, so for instance, the traditional TSH range is 0.45 to 4.5. As long as the result falls within this range, your doctor is going to tell you that your lab work is fine and you don't need any intervention. So the question remains, why do so many people still have symptoms when all their labs look normal? Well, in short, it's because the traditional methods of evaluating lab work often lend toward missed subclinical presentations or missed patterns of dysfunction. So try to follow me here for a second. This normal range of lab values that your results are being compared to are based upon a bell curve analysis of lab values taken from a certain patient population in a particular region over a certain period of time. Now, the problem with that is that who do you typically see when you are in a waiting room waiting to get your blood drawn? Well, you typically see a bunch of sick people, people that are on medication. So these normal lab values are based on the sick group of people whose lab results are somewhat skewed because they're on medication. So essentially, you're being compared to a bunch of sick people to tell you whether you're healthy or not. It just doesn't really make any sense. It's not normal to be sick, and it's not normal to be on medication. Yes, it's common, but common is not the same thing as normal. So since these lab values are based on this sick population, the numbers are very broad. So it doesn't really give us a good idea of how you're functioning compared to what the optimum level should be in your body. So we call this range that's used in a traditional practice the standard laboratory reference range or the pathological range. And again, this is the range that most doctors are using to compare your lab values to. Now, in a functional practice, we evaluate blood chemistry from a different perspective. We use what's called the optimum functional range. So to make the difference simple, the pathological range that most labs are using, or the lab range, is used to diagnose disease processes. Whereas the functional range is used to assess the risk of disease processes before they fully develop. So it's important to understand that even if a disease hasn't fully developed where it'll show up on your lab range, it can be advanced enough to cause you to have symptoms. Now, fortunately, there have been several groups that have done significant work with coming up with this ideal functional range that tells us what your lab values would be for a normal body that's functioning optimally. So some of the groups that have done this work are the Endocrine Society, Dr. Harry Eidner's group, the Balancing Body Chemistry group, just various other types of functional medicine groups. Now, these ranges are based on a study of healthy individuals without any disease, without any pathology, and people that are not taking any medication. So functional practitioners like myself utilize this functional range so that we can detect subclinical dysfunctions, subclinical patterns to help us support these problems before they progress into full-blown pathological processes. And because these ranges are based on a study of people that aren't sick or on medication, the ranges are much, much narrower. So again, using TSH as an example, the traditional lab range that's used is 0.45 to 4.5, but the optimum range is 1.8 to 3.0, so it's much more narrow. So if you were to go to your doctor's office and your TSH was, say, 3.5, it's within that broad range, and so your doctor's going to look at it and tell you that you're normal. And you might be thinking, well, I have all these thyroid symptoms, but that doesn't make any sense. Well, the reason may be because even though you're within that broad lab range, the optimum range being 1.8 to 3.0, you may be outside of that optimum range. You may not have a full-blown pathology within your thyroid, but it may be malfunctioning enough to cause you to have these symptoms that you're having. So In summary, your labs may look normal because they're being compared to this traditional pathological range that's very broad. But if we were to compare it to the more narrow optimum functional range, they may be outside the functional norms. And if this is the case, even though you may not have a diagnosable disease process, your body may be malfunctioning enough to cause symptoms. And my goal as a functional practitioner is to help return you to your normal optimum function. So I scrutinize your lab work a little bit differently. Now, another reason that your labs may look normal is simply because many doctors don't order a large enough panel to get an idea of how your body is really functioning. And the reason that most doctors don't do this is because they only order what they feel the insurance companies will pay for. And that's really not how we work here. We order whatever labs we feel are necessary to take a comprehensive approach to get an understanding of what your underlying problems may be. So I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you or loved ones suffer from fibromyalgia, feel free to reach out to me to see how we can help you. You can do that by private messaging me on our Facebook page, or you can visit my website at www.drdanboggs.com. That's drdanboggs.com. Or you can call my office at 304-518-5179. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.